NASCAR blocked him from Talladega. Millions of fans lost their minds. The internet went to war. And then, before the smoke even cleared, Cleetus McFarland quietly did something nobody saw coming. He did not argue. He did not post an angry video. He got back in the car. May 30th. Nashville Superspeedway, number 33 RCR Chevrolet, and now the pressure on that single race is unlike anything he has faced before, because surviving is no longer enough. Nashville is where Cleetus either proves the garage wrong or proves them right. His real name is Garrett Mitchell. He is 31 years old, originally from Omaha, Nebraska. He built one of the biggest automotive YouTube channels in the country. 4.7 million subscribers. Through burnout videos, wild engine swaps, and unfiltered passion for everything that runs on four wheels. He bought an abandoned racetrack in Bradenton, Florida, turned it into the Freedom Factory, and has been growing his own motorsports universe from the ground up for years. This is not someone who woke up one morning and decided to jump into NASCAR for attention. He has been working his way up through ARCA, logging real seat time, taking real hits, and signing a legitimate multi-race deal with one of NASCAR's most historic teams. Childress Racing. Every debate around Cleetus lives or dies on one question. Is he taking this seriously? Everything that has happened in 2026 says yes. After his O'Reilly Series debut at Rockingham on April 4th, RCR had plans to put Cleetus in the car at Talladega Superspeedway. NASCAR said no. When that became public, the fan base split right down the middle. On NASCAR's side, the logic was straightforward. John Probst, NASCAR's executive vice president and chief racing development officer, made the position clear. It's not NASCAR saying no, we're just saying we want to see more first. When you look back at what we've asked other drivers to do, we're asking him to do something very similar and to show he's progressing. Talladega is a 2.66-mile superspeedway where cars run in tight packs at nearly 200 miles per hour. A single mistake does not just hurt the driver who made it, it can take out a dozen cars in under a second. NASCAR's job is to protect everybody on that track, not just Cleetus. Probst also made one thing absolutely clear about the decision-making process. If it was just about clicks and dollars, we had an easy decision with Cleetus. But it's not about that. It's just making sure that we're doing right for him as a driver and as a human being to make sure that when we say you're ready, that we feel in all our hearts that he is ready. On the fan side though, a lot of people did not look at it that cleanly. They saw someone who clearly loves the sport, who brings millions of eyes to whatever he touches, who went out at Rockingham, took his lumps, and finished the race, and they felt the standard being applied to him was harder and more public than it would be for anyone else. That emotional reaction is exactly why this story exploded. It was never really just about one race at one track. It became a debate about whether popularity belongs in the conversation at all when NASCAR is handing out opportunities, and that is a debate with no clean answer. The sport knows it. That is why Probst openly said there is a fine line between entertainment and the sport itself. NASCAR is balancing risk, safety, legitimacy, and fan growth all at once with this one driver. He finished 32nd, 6 laps down. He spun out on lap 206 and drew the 7th caution of the day. On paper, it looks rough, and it was rough. Cleetus himself said it perfectly, as predicted. Got my butt kicked, but I finished the race. That last part, but I finished, is the whole story. He qualified 35th in a 38-car field. He completed all 250 laps. He finished ahead of 5 other drivers. He did not wreck anybody. He did not destroy his equipment. He stayed out of the way of the leaders. And when Jesse Love was lapping him at one point, he actually tucked in behind Love, watched his line, and immediately picked up something he had been doing wrong all day. That is how a driver learns. That is exactly what NASCAR said they want to see. And there is one more piece from that same weekend that gets overlooked. Before the O'Reilly race, Cleetus also ran the ARCA Menards East event at Rockingham and finished 4th, his best result in any NASCAR-sanctioned event up to that point. He completed 369 of his scheduled 375 laps across both races on that single Saturday. That is not a casual effort. Before Rockingham, Kyle Petty had been one of the loudest critical voices around this entire situation. He questioned the message it sent to have someone with that little traditional experience jumping into NASCAR's National Series ladder. He said point blank that internet followers should not substitute for the development process. Kyle Busch had also come out publicly questioning the deal, even saying his own 10-year-old son had probably run more races than Cleetus at that point. Then Rockingham happened. Petty's tone changed completely after the race. He said, "If you're going to criticize, you've got to give credit. Cleetus did what he needed to do. He ran every lap. He didn't tear anything up. He didn't really get in anybody's way, and that's what he needed to do to shut up guys like me." That line matters more than any lap time from that day. Petty did not become a full believer, but he moved from dismissal to acknowledgement. In NASCAR, where the garage earns its respect the hard way, that kind of shift is significant. The criticism did not disappear, it evolved. It went from, "Why is he here at all?" to, "Okay, prove it to me." That is a completely different conversation. Between Rockingham and the Nashville announcement, Cleetus ran in the ARCA Menard Series race at Kansas Speedway. He started 25th after qualifying was rained out and immediately got to work. He moved up 11 positions in the first 5 laps and was running 11th by the halfway break. He continued to push, reaching as high as 7th after a 3-wide pass on a mid-race restart. Then the engine let go. With about 25 laps remaining, the motor blew in a cloud of white smoke and dumped oil across the front stretch. Andy Jankowiak and Isabella Robusto, running directly behind him, crashed in the oil and hit the wall. Cleetus, to his credit, managed to keep the car in one piece while sliding sideways through his own oil in turns 1 and 2 without losing control. He finished 20th, his second DNF in 6 ARCA starts, but his reaction afterward told you everything about where his head is. Did you see that drift through the entire turn 1 and 2? That was awesome. Overall, I had a blast. I made it 75 laps though, so that's pretty good. If we had blown the motor at 50, I probably would have shed a tear, but I made it through 75% of the race, so I'll call it a win. Running inside the top 10 at an intermediate track in ARCA after starting from the back is proof of pace. Real, measurable pace. And that Kansas run almost certainly played a role in NASCAR greenlighting Nashville because the approval process is race by race and Kansas gave them something to evaluate that Rockingham alone did not fully provide. There is also the Talladega ARCA race to factor in. Cleetus finished second, led laps, and had between 80,000 and 100,000 viewers watching his in-car camera live on YouTube during the race. A number that, according to Jeff Gluck, may have exceeded the audience watching the actual race on FS1 at certain points. On April 20th, RCR confirmed on X with 4 words: "He's back." Cleetus McFarland returns to the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series on May 30th at Nashville Superspeedway for the Sports Illustrated Resorts 250, airing at 7:30 p.m. Eastern on the CW network. Nashville measures 1.33 miles in length, a concrete D-shaped oval with both intermediate and short track characteristics. RCR viewed it as a deliberate, calculated step forward. As reporter Steven Taranto noted, RCR looked at Nashville as a safe bet given the slower speeds in the corners. A track that pushes Cleetus beyond Rockingham without throwing him into territory NASCAR has not yet cleared him for. Cleetus laid out his preparation plan directly. "I'm going to be doing a lot of training with RCR, a lot of simulator time. Really looking forward to getting back out on the track in the O'Reilly's car. A lot of power. Got to dial in my turning lefts." Nashville is where the standard shifts. At Rockingham, finishing the race and not wrecking anyone was enough to move the conversation forward. At Nashville, the garage will be watching for something more. Pace relative to the field, consistency through traffic, and evidence that the development arc is pointing in the right direction. The NOAPS has posted over 1 million viewers for all 11 races of the 2026 season, up 6% year over year. The ARCA Talladega race drew 446,000 viewers, up 41% from 2025, a number directly tied to Cleetus and fellow content creator Squirrel McNutt competing in the top 10. This story has measurable, documented impact on NASCAR's viewership numbers, and the sport is paying attention to that, whether it says so publicly or not. The destination Cleetus is building toward is Daytona in the spring. That is the goal he has pointed to. Nashville is the next step on that path. Every lap on May 30th is a data point. NASCAR is watching. The garage is watching. 4.7 million subscribers are watching. The rejection at Talladega did not slow this story down. It set the stakes for everything that comes next.